Hello to everyone who is with us. Hello, Marlene. It's great to see you here and to have the next conversation.
Hello, Larissa. It's so great to be with you today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
I'm Lara Homans.
And I'm Marlene Thomas.
And we are here in the space of the podcast, Partnership in Action. And this is the episode 2. And I'm very grateful to introduce my partner, co-host, very good friend, and leader in actions, Marlene Thomas. Marlene is president of Thomas Management Consulting. She is professional certified coach and immediate past president of ICF Metro DC Charter Chapter. But as I said, when we are recording the first podcast, for me, Marlene is the partner in leading new impactful stories. And this is why we are doing this podcast together. Marlene, you know I value so much this inspiring opportunity to co-create this new media project with you.
Thank you, Larissa. And I am so happy to be here today with my friend and colleague, the past president of the Ukrainian chapter who we partnered with and did such fabulous work with, working with you, Larissa. First of all, I've just learned so much. You are definitely a strategic thinker and partner, and you are passionate about what you do. And you also bring that compassion to what you do. So I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you, Marlene. And I want to thank you, everyone who listened to our first episode. I was monitoring the reactions. And of course, when you're doing something new, you are expecting that people will be celebrating these new beginnings. Actually, we are celebrating. Yes, Marlene. And also, it was very interesting for me how many people can react, express their reactions, because partnership in action is about taking actions. How is possible to take actions? Like what we did or dislike what we did, shared, ask questions, make some comments. And we are inviting you, if you would like to follow with these conversations, we are promising to bring our conversations every 2 weeks. If you would like to be informed, notified, just subscribe and you will know what is coming. But Marlene, I'd like to share one comment we received together from our colleague, the coach from South Africa. And I will read a few of his sentences. And also, if you know if your colleagues reflected in some way or maybe said something to you, please share. Because I received some comments from my colleagues too, not as a comments, but in personal messages, which brought me to another question probably we need to discuss.
Well, that's great. I like you, Larissa, I got several comments. Most of them weren't written. They were either in emails or texts or phone calls in terms of the topic. You know, it's one of those things that's not a common topic. So that dialogue, I think, resonated with a lot of individuals, not only in the coaching community, but a lot of individuals who are leaders in their own rights in other ways. So yes, I think that was an important topic that we hit on. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation today and ongoing conversations.
I also received some comments from my colleagues, and also they mentioned that it's very interesting and very provocative connections. Can you coach, but can you lead? So it means you don't believe that coaches can lead? I said, no, I believe, but we are just discussing what is a way how coaches can lead and take responsibilities for becoming leaders in different ways, in different setups, different contexts. What a comment we received from Rushdie and Jazz, I hope I pronounce his name correctly. And he wrote, as an eternal student of integral thinking, integral IEQ, integral coaching, co-creating purpose-driven safe spaces in both mindset and execution. with the deep recognition of both context, nuances, impacts, and core competencies from both a leadership and coaching paradigm, and the integration of the two in the pursuit of being of service to advance a noble cause, particularly in a post-COVID or VUCA world. Opportunities to become more mindful of how we are showing up whilst navigating through these times of unprecedented turbulence, uncertainty, and opportunity, respectively. Macro understanding, mindful execution. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Roche. Thank you. Really, that comment resonated very much, especially showing up, macro understanding, mindful execution.
Thank you, Larissa, for sharing that. I think what resonated with me about that comment the most was how we show up as coaches. You know, we talk about that when we're having conversations with our clients, and we don't always think about how that pertains to us as we go about and do the work that we're doing.
Thank you, Marlene. And we promise that topic for this conversation will be, again, formulated in provocative question. You can lead, but can you partner? And this conversation is mainly for the leaders and also for the coaches who lead.
I think that, I love that topic because that topic for me really revolves around the concept of leadership and collaboration, particularly how does that lead to successful partnerships? You know, in today's global and interconnected world, collaboration is absolutely crucial. This topic will give us an opportunity to really talk about the complexity of leadership and the broader skills that are required to have meaningful partnerships.
Yeah, when we are discussing what we are going to talk when we are on this space, even before we release the first podcast, we are talking about it a lot. The meaningful partnership, the complex leadership, and the integral nature of the world and work and challenges and opportunities we are living in. And this is why we decided to discuss this. And you already started making connections between leading and partnering. And what do you think how leadership and partnership are connected even more deeper, or where they are not connected?
Oh, that's a good point. Where they're not connected. Hadn't thought about that. But in terms of where they are connected, they both involve individuals working together to achieve those common goals, right? I mean, that's really what partnership is, that you're working together because there's something that you want to achieve together. So in terms of what's important and how they're connected, the first thing that comes to my mind is communication, right? You know, in this conversation today on this topic, I think we're going to be talking a lot about communication because both leadership and partnerships, it's essential that you have clear and effective communications. In a leadership role, you're required to communicate your vision, what you expect, and your guidance to your team members. And partnership depends on that open communication to make sure that we are all on the same page, that we're addressing the challenges and the issues. And so, as I said, communications is one thing that I think of in terms of how they're connected. Another one is mutual support and accountability. Partnership allows you to work together. You don't feel alone, like you're tackling this issue or this thing by yourself. It helps you kind of grow skills. If you've got a partner, you can improve those skills that you're working on as a leader. And it also helps you become more adaptable and flexible because when you're in a partnership, you're always growing and you may have to adapt to what you have to have these conversations and these thoughts, and there are times that you may not even be on the same page. So you've got to be flexible when you got a partnership. So there's a whole list of things, Larissa, that I could go on about in terms of how leadership and partnership is connected. But I want to hear what your thoughts are.
When we are having the conversation for the episode 1, we already framed the conversation about partnership, and I shared how I do understand partnership. For me, the partnership is the highest level of relationships people have and people are willing to have, and probably the most difficult, challenging, and responsible relationships. I cannot say that other kind of relationships are not responsible. No, they are. But naming something as a partnership means to take everything which is hidden in the meaning of this word. English is not native language for me. I'm Ukrainian. It's very easy to say, listening to me, to hearing this accent, Ukrainian accent or Slavic accent. And this is why I'm very curious to get to the meaning and definition of the word. When I started thinking about partnership, not right now or yesterday or when we decided to talk about it, but many years ago, when I took part in the first training that focused on leadership and partnership, it was 20 years ago, I look at, okay, what does this word mean? And for example, the Merriam-Webster dictionary is saying that the partner as a noun appeared in the English language in 14th century and as a verb in 16th century. It means there were almost 200 years between making transition from partner as a word. Actually, it was not partner, it was part-taker. Part-taker, and then to the verb, to partner. And this partaker had several meanings, actually 3 levels of meanings. To take part in or experience something along with others. The second, to have a portion as a food or drink or responsibility or shares. And the third one, to possess or share a certain nature of attribute. So the experience partakers of a mystical quality, for example, mystical results or the real results. So for me, it's very deep meaning. And I think this old definition, old meaning of partnership as a part-taking actually explain the contribution, actions, and responsibility, and the results and the impact. Through these angles, I'm looking at the relationships when I'm calling them partnership. I think we want to have partnership almost everywhere, but I don't think that is possible. Because partnership is a huge investment of energy, commitment, courage, willingness to define clarity, to define the same page, the common ground, the shared values. It's hard work. It's like good marriage. It's hard work. The partnership is the same, but the question is what we are marrying for when we are creating partnership in business, in social life, in projects, around ideas, around vision, around the cause we are serving, and for people whom we are serving. That's my understanding.
That's really great. What resonated with me with what you said was partnership means to share, partaking in that responsibility. And that's really important, because when you're in a partnership, there are equal parts of responsibility to ensure whatever you want those outcomes to be, what you've agreed upon those outcomes being. So I wrote that down, Larissa. Share. Partnership is about sharing.
Yeah, it's about sharing everything.
Mm-hmm.
From the ownership of the ideas, the strategies, the challenges, to the process, how the strategies, how these ideas are being transformed into strategies and then actions and then results, and also what can happen in between, and also to share and to own the result, the impact. Sometimes it's very visible, sometimes it's invisible, sometimes it's tangible, sometimes it's not. It's not about share the trophy, it's not about share the title to be partners, but it's about to share everything, the glory and the pain, the passion and the problems, the challenges and the satisfactions, and joy and tears, maybe.
Yeah, no, all of those things lead right into what do leaders need to understand and do to create, build, and nurture partnerships, right? And all of those things that you just talked about. First of all, they got to make sure that they're on the same page in terms of what is the vision? What is this thing that we have come together to work to or towards? And what is the purpose? What are the objectives? Do we have the same values even, right? As we decide that we want to get together to do this. And again, how do we communicate that? Like I said, I'll be using that word because I believe communication is the pinnacle of everything. We've got in partnerships, it's just really important that you have clear and effective communications. And I think that was in our partnership when we first got together. I think that was one of the things that we did really well. We made it clear about what we wanted the outcomes to be and how we wanted to achieve those outcomes. And it has to be a mutual benefit of both parties. We don't all come to the party with the same needs or desires. But if we can make sure that, especially as leaders, that we are able to identify and communicate what those values are to each of us and what we want to gain from this relationship or this collaboration, it certainly does help.
You ask what do leaders need to understand and can to do to create, build, and nurture partnership. And it's very close to the questions when leadership is not partnership and partnership is not leadership. Yeah. Sometimes it's better to answer what to do by saying what not to do. And we are talking about partnership, keeping in mind the leaders more than coaches. And also in different businesses, there are different ways of how partnership is showing up. There are certain kind of businesses where partnership is the core of doing business, like lawyers. It's always partnership company, yes? Someone and someone. And also financial companies which are providing auditing services, as usual as partnership companies. It means they are created based on the shared goals, definitely vision, and also shares the ownership. But I don't know, it always does mean that they are real partners, not just partners by agreement, but partners by nature, by moral agreement. I had very interesting experience in my early consulting career when I was working with the partners of one company. The request was very simple, just to help them to prepare for public speaking, making presentations. And because I came from the communication side, so I started consulting on the areas which I had experience, expertise, and professional benefits. And I remember the moment when they were making presentation about their company, and when they were watching those short presentations, they were very confused. They started looking at each other with unspoken questions. And I understood what the questions were. Because if I wouldn't be knowing that they were talking about the same company, I would be thinking that they were presenting four different companies. They were partners, but they were talking about the companies based on the priorities they were choosing to talk. They were talking about the company not as a whole, but as a part of doing something. And they were very confused. And probably for the first time, they realized, okay, if four of us are talking about the company in different ways, how our managers are talking about the company, what kind of company they are presenting. And then it was a very provocative experience for them to start integrating how they are presenting companies. You mentioned about communication. Communication is a glue. Communication is the craft. Communication is the space where something is showing up and becoming visible. For me to be partners, and again, I can see this because I'm working with leaders. To be the partners, it means to understand what are the benefits of partnership and what are the challenges of partnerships. It's not possible to agree about everything. It's not possible to use the same words. Everybody, every leader is very unique. But this uniqueness, rooted in partnership mindset, is creating the partnership in action, the company which is working as a partnership company, not because of the law, but because of the shared values, approaches, goals, values, and communication.
I love that example because I think that's the first step in partnership is making sure that everyone is on the same page in terms of what is this partnership? What does it look like? As you said, everyone is very unique and everyone brings their own moral compass and their own values into whatever space they're in. So I think really, Larissa, that is the place that a lot of leaders don't do the work. They don't take the time to figure out what people are bringing into this new relationship. What are your values? What are your ethics? What drives you? What's important for you to show up in this new relationship that we have formed? You gave an example of working with these companies with four people who had different views. I've actually worked with folks who, as a coach and as a leader in an organization that want me to share information that is inappropriate for me to share. If that is part of this partnership agreement, you know, that's a conversation that we have to have because that's not something that's not a line that I'm willing to cross. So those conversations again are very important that you have at the beginning, that everyone is in agreement that these are the lines that we won't cross. These are the things that are important to us. It's almost as though we all need to have a sheet of music that we're singing from so that we're reminded of what's important for all of us in this partnership, why we decided to come together.
I suggest those who are listening to us now to come back to the episode 1 and to listen specifically the part when you, Marlene, was talking about leadership as a relationship building. You said everything in leadership is about relationships. And then another moment which I think very connected to what we are talking now is about the energy that leaders are bringing to the relationships, because leaders are very powerful, unique, skillful, meaningful, and purpose driven, soul driven, maybe some of them ego driven. It's also possible. But also, they are doing different things with different speed. And the speed is the energy. And someone can run immediately, quickly. Someone needs to reflect a little bit. Someone needs to look at differently. Someone needs more time to, as we are saying, just to sleep with the issue or with the problem or challenges. So I don't know if it's the right translation into English, but in Ukrainian it sounds like переспати з проблемою. So just take a night, take a night with the problem, just next day to look at differently. But when you are not in coherence at the energetic level, and even when you are sharing the values, it cannot guarantee that you will not have challenges, you will not have difficulties, because someone is moving faster, someone needs more time, and do things slowly. But doing slowly doesn't mean doing bad. It means just to take own time and speed, and also to be in resonance at the energy level. It's create the common conditions, or maybe more healthy conditions, to develop partnership. Another thing is trust. It's huge. It's core for every relationships, for partnership even the more. It brings me to the question, what to do if partnership is broken? Is it possible to restore or rebuild or reimagine partnerships? What do you think?
I think it is possible because conflict is inevitable in partnerships. And I think that leaders really need to be prepared to address how they're going to deal with disagreements, and in a way so that people walk away from that conversation or that issue feeling whole. And remind, and what's important is to remind each other, what's the bigger picture? What's the bigger picture? What do we need to do to resolve when we see that a conflict flares up? I think the earlier in the relationship that we have those conversations, the better off we're going to be, because, as I said, it's inevitable. It could be a very minor conflict, but conflicts happen. They happen with our spouses, they happen with our children. Those are partnerships too, you know? So we just need to talk about it early, and if necessary, often.
Early and often. I recalled another experience. I used to work for the International Finance Corporation as a communication officer for the office in Ukraine. And I remember my good colleague, very smart, committed, experienced business lady, before any negotiations or conversations about the future investments were happening. And she was saying, I was always thinking, what we will be doing if something wouldn't be going well? What kind of partners we are going to attract? At the beginning, like engagement, everything sounds great, everything sounds promising. But what we can do if something is not going well? So if it would be the most difficult, the most challenging stage or period or moments or situations, it sounds maybe in some paradox, thinking about the best and predicting the worst in partnership. It's not dismissing the value of partnership, but to be very realistic and to see what is possible, what kind of communications we would be having, what kind of behaviors could show up. It means partnership. It's necessary to have agreement, not just written on the papers, with all legal, all framed, beautifully crafted words, but also some kind of moral agreement. It's a part of partnership.
You said model agreement? Tell me more about that.
Moral agreement.
Moral agreement. Okay,
yes.
I understand. Yes.
Moral agreement. So how can we behave if something wouldn't be going well, but we are in partnership? And I think this is a way how to deal with challenging situations, and maybe to accept that partnership can be broken and it can be restored.
Yeah, and back to, again, communications, right? Stephen Covey says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So, when and if that issue comes up with a partner, sit down with them and discuss the issue that has led to the breakdown of this relationship and really listen to listen and not listen to reply. Because I can guarantee you that you will hear and learn something that you didn't know. And you got to identify what the issues are. You got to just, regardless of how sensitive the issues are, you've got to bring them right there. And I have a personal story about a relationship that I was partnering with someone to do some training in a very big organization. So we had this relationship, we developed the training, and this person disappeared. They disappeared. And I learned that they went off and they did the training by themselves. So we had established this relationship, we had established this partnership. And honestly, I was angry for a very long time. And I was the one who suggested, can we sit down and talk about what happened and why? Because that's what I needed. So, yeah. Can partnerships be restored or rebuilt? Yes, we got past that, but it took a lot because trust, you got to rebuild trust. You got to identify what happened and you've got to commit to change and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
This is a way how to learn by the experience, not only by successful experience, but painful experience too. I was listening to you and when you said about listening, I said, the next topic probably we need to discuss would be you can lead, but can you listen?
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one because yeah, sometimes you wonder, right? Did they really hear what was said?
It will be about listening capacities that can be developed. We all are listening, but the question, do we really listening? Listening, what is the purpose for listening? What is the purpose for give really this gift to someone who is speaking, and to be aware about parallel thoughts and the disagreements or boredom we could have when we are listening someone, or the willingness to bring the reason, the arguments immediately, or to give the advice, or to bring the solutions. Coaches are masterful listeners because this is a part of coaching mastery and coaching competencies and coaching professional approach. But leaders are not the coaches always, but by listening they can grow as the leaders, and they can, I think, listening as a part of communicating is the way to build meaningful partnerships and maybe less stressful partnership, because when you listen, really listen, what it's spoken, what it's not spoken, what it's said, what it's not said, and then it can eliminate the difficulties in partnership. What do you think, Marlene? Do we always need to have partnerships, or contractual relationships are also okay?
Even a contractual relationship is a partnership. I mean, partnerships, they show up in different ways, right? And there are lots of benefits to partnerships. Some of it is, honestly, for me, a lot of partnerships is to provide that support, whether it's emotional or financial or just practical support, experience in an area that I don't have. In both personal and business relationships and partnerships, having someone else there to share the responsibilities and the challenges can really help you feel better. It can reduce some of the burdens and responsibilities. And most importantly, a lot of partnerships ensure success because they bring something to the table that you don't have, or an area you may not be strong in. And especially as leaders, we leaders don't have the skill sets in every area that they need. That's why, it's really important for leaders to understand when they're hiring people. They hire people who have skills in areas that they need, that they're not strong in. I tell all of my folks, hire people that are smarter than you, right? That helps make that load that you're carrying a lot easier.
What you just said is bringing me to another question because you mentioned about success in partnership or successful partnership. How to evaluate an effectiveness of partnership? Any criteria to keep in mind or to ask leaders to think about when they are developing partnerships?
Oh, I have a whole list of them really. That, first of all, they got to be shared goals. You've got to be committed to this partnership. You've got to make sure that your partners, that the goals that you have agreed to, that you're both agreeing to them. And again, we talked early on in our conversation today about synergy and collaboration. I think you called it energy, right? So it's important that you bring together a partner that has energy, that you appreciate, that has diverse skills and expertise. That energy can lead to creative problem solving for you when times get tough. That partner can bring resources that you may not have had access to. So those are just a few of the benefits of evaluating what's important when you think about partnering with someone.
I can add a few ones because I also have a list. And
Yeah, please.
the different criteria, it can be internal and external. And internal criteria that everybody who is going to build partnership or is defining himself or herself involved in creating partnership, like internal dashboard. What is my readiness to be the partner?
Ooh, that's really good. I really like that. What is my internal readiness? How many people do you think actually ask themselves that question?
I don't know. I don't know, but I think if we can help by provoking thinking in that way, we already are doing our job, because this internal readiness, and this is the level of maturity. So if I know about myself, because it doesn't matter what are the relationships are, it doesn't matter what I'm doing or you are doing or other people are doing, asking the first question, who am I in this certain situation, and what is my readiness to do what I'm committed to do, or what I'm signing up to do, what I will take responsibility to do, is probably eliminate the challenges ahead. Because if my readiness to be the partner is very low, I want to be the partner, so it's coming back to me at the area of development. I need to develop myself as a partner. What does it mean? Listen better, tolerate more, get clarity about something which is not clear, to bring challenging questions before the challenging situations can happen. It's much better to deal with challenging questions than with challenging situations.
I love that. And I think that that's probably one of the first questions that anyone should ask as they think about partnership. What's my readiness to be a partner? And when as I talk about that, I think about folks who are getting married. What's my readiness really to engage in this lifelong relationship with this person? I'm not sure people think about it from that perspective, right?
I don't know. But I think it's possible to make some self evaluation about readiness to become the partner. Because when you're choosing someone to live, to spend the entire life with, I think probably we are asking the same questions. Yes, I want to be with this one. Yes, and I know what I can pay for. So when I got married, my second husband is American. He's not speaking Ukrainian. He understands Ukrainian, but not speaking. So I paid by always being able to speak in English, even when I don't have the right words to explain, but I need to find these words to explain. And sometimes be ready to say something in my language. And without understand those words, we can understand what she is saying because of the intonation, because of the whole personality. So I'm joking, but my husband has a t-shirt. My wife is Ukrainian, nothing scares me. And I think it's true. So it's about partnership, but speaking about the internal readiness to become the partner, it's also to be ready to discuss if something needs to discuss on the shore before to going on the board and go through the ocean. And also, it's not about KPIs or indicators like business indicators, which can show up the results. It's about the indicators of having conflicts, having disagreements is good or bad for partnership. Lack of challenging conversations is telling that this partnership is beautiful, absolutely harmonic, or something is hidden. It means when there is a conflict, you said it's not bad because it's not possible to avoid, but to be the constructive in dealing with these conflict situations. It means not to predict, but to make sure that the partnership will be developing in right way and partnership will be in good shape. And also maybe to make agreement about the common language, to have the same understanding about what we are talking about, even we know the meaning of those words. Same language. Problem is it bad or good? Or we can avoid using problems because we would like to be very positive, or we are always saying challenges or situations. Maybe sometimes it's necessary to say this is the problem. Or clarity about everything is good, or clarity that something is not working at the early stage. And maybe another area of indicators or criteria to keep in mind what we are bringing and what we are taking. Because partner, as a part taker, if we can reverse, how about part bringer? How about part winner? We know breadwinner, those who is bringing the bread to the household. What we are bringing to the partnership and what we are taking from the partnership, and what is the ratio. And if this ratio is satisfying the people who are forming partnership. It's about complementary partnership. So you know more, I know less. And together we know enough. Or someone is doing more, someone is doing less, but complementary, we are doing enough. Or we are aware about this. And we know why we are forming this partnership. Complementary partnership, great. And everything is coming to understanding the personality, the own personality, and other persons too. Clarity, understanding, and willingness to understand more than for any other types of relationships. And also, maybe another one is time. I think time is a critical ingredient, critical condition, and time is a partner for any type of partnerships. I believe that it's possible to meet and to feel resonance immediately and to believe that, okay, we can do something together without explaining different things, without making agreements. But maybe sometimes it's necessary to have time to allow the partnership seeds to grow and to flourish and then bring fruits. It's necessary to be very patient and also to water to the partnership seeds and to protect this very tangible leaves. It's about caring about partnership. It's working. Partnership is about working together and to have hands dirty in good way, to roll your sleeves and to work.
Think about all the things that we've talked about today. There are three big takeaways for me. I guess the first one is that leaders should not be afraid of entering into a partnership. It is an opportunity to grow. It is an opportunity to build. And partnerships encourage individuals to step out of their comfort zones and to develop new skills. So, for those of you who are leaders out there or who are coaches, and you've thought about partnerships and there's this little tinge, I say go for it. You've heard some really good tips today. So, keep these tips in mind or reach out to either Larissa or I. The second thing that I think that kind of resonates with me from today is that, and I said it at the beginning, communication is critical in any partnership. Misunderstandings are going to happen, and they can be really small or they can be really big. So, this is an opportunity to really hone your communication skills and remember the Stephen Covey quote that I used earlier. And one of the things that you said, the third thing that resonated with me today, Larissa, is what you said just a little bit ago, which is everyone is unique. We bring all of who we are into these relationships. You talked about that moral agreement. That's really important in these relationships. So I think we keep that in mind. These are shared goals, shared visions. But we bring all of who we are. Just like, whether you're a leader or whether you're a coach, we can't, there's not like a coat that we take off and we change our personalities. So 3 key things. Don't be afraid of going into a partnership. It encourages you to grow, but do the work. Communication is critical. And everyone is unique. Everyone partners by their own moral agreement.
Thank you, Marlene, for summarizing our conversation. Again, time is flying so fast, and we're almost at the end of our conversation. And I'd like to remind our listeners that we are doing it together because we have partnership story behind, and the story is being developed. And in less than 2 weeks, we will go to Orlando, and we will be presenting the leadership partnership case. It's not the end of the story. We are bringing the conversation to this space. I hope we'll be able to record our podcast when we are in Florida during the Converge 2023. And we'll be talking about listening, yes?
Yes, that's exciting.
Yeah. And I'm inviting our listeners too, because partnership in actions means we are creating the space to discuss. If you can suggest the topics you are very passionate about or curious very much or would like to draw our attention, just share, and we'll promise to take this topic and to discuss. What I can say at the end of our conversation, Marlene, thank you very much to be my partner today and to co-create this podcast. We had frames, we had topics we would like to discuss, but the beauty of these interactions is what is happening. It's happening in an amazing way. And how it's happening, this is how partnership is working. Thank you for creating this space together. I will remind that it was my great privilege to discuss this topic with Marlene Thomas, immediate past president of ICF Metro DC, Charter Chapter, the president of Thomas Management Consulting, and the co-host of the podcast, Partnership in Action. Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa. It's always a pleasure to have these very interesting, sometimes challenging conversations with you. Like Larissa, we look forward to hearing from you. We want your feedback. We'd appreciate your feedback. We will talk to you from Florida.
And we are committed to come back to you with new conversations. Stay tuned, stay connected, and contribute to partnership in actions. This is the way how partnership is working. Thank you.